The dense jungle canopy blocked most of the sunlight, creating a perpetual twilight beneath the massive trees. James wiped the sweat from his forehead as he checked his handheld scanner again. Something wasn't right about the readings he was getting from this section of the planet. "Control, are you seeing these energy signatures?" He spoke into his comm unit. The response came back, garbled with static. This deep in the jungle, communications were spotty at best. The scout ship had detected unusual patterns during the initial planetary survey, which was why James now found himself trudging through the undergrowth. As Earth's first scout on this unexplored world, it was his job to investigate anything unusual. A flash of movement caught his eye. He froze, his hand instinctively moving to the stunner at his belt. Through the leaves, he spotted what looked like a carefully maintained path. This was impossible. The planet was supposed to be uninhabited. Following the path carefully, James noticed signs of intelligent life everywhere. Woven vines serving as guides, carved markers on trees, and carefully tended medicinal plants. His training told him to retreat and call for backup, but curiosity pushed him forward. The path led to a clearing, and what he saw there made him gasp. Hidden beneath the canopy was a settlement, but unlike anything he'd seen before, the buildings were a perfect blend of natural materials and sophisticated design. Platforms connected by bridges spread through the trees at different levels, all carefully camouflaged to be nearly invisible from above. But it was the inhabitants that truly shocked him. They were Laxari, a spacefaring species known for their rigid social structure and advanced biotechnology. Except these Laxari were all female, and they moved with a wild grace that was nothing like their urban cousins. James knew enough about Laxari culture to understand what he was seeing. The females of their species were considered useful only for breeding. Those who failed to produce male offspring or showed too much independence were often disposed of. It was a practice the Galactic Council turned a blind eye to, calling it a cultural matter. He watched as they moved through their settlement. Despite their primitive surroundings, they showed signs of sophisticated organization. Some tended to hydroponic gardens hidden beneath the canopy, while others worked with what looked like homemade laboratory equipment. A group of younger ones practiced combat moves in a clearing, using weapons crafted from local materials. Their movements were fluid and deadly, nothing like the submissive postures their species usually forced upon females. "How long have they been here?" he wondered aloud. Based on the development of their settlement, it had to be generations. His thoughts were interrupted by a sharp point pressed against his back. "Move and die," a voice said in accented but clear standard English. They'd been monitoring human communications, learning their languages. "I'm not here to hurt anyone," James said, keeping his hands visible. "I'm a human scout." The pressure of the weapon eased slightly. "Turn around." Slowly. He did as instructed and found himself facing a tall Laxari female. Unlike the ones he'd seen in cities with their elaborate robes and submissive postures, she wore practical clothing made from local materials. Her silver eyes studied him with keen intelligence. "You're far from your normal patrol route, human," she said. "Why are you here?" "Energy readings led me here. I had no idea." He trailed off, still processing what he'd discovered. She seemed to consider this, then made a decision. "Come with me. But know that if you make any aggressive moves, you won't leave this jungle alive." As they walked toward the settlement, James's mind raced. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a powder keg. These women had built something remarkable, but if their existence became known, their original society would try to destroy them. Looking at their achievements, their strength, he made a decision. He wouldn't report this, not yet. First, he needed to understand, to help if he could. Sometimes, he realized, doing the right thing meant breaking the rules. The Laxari female led him toward what looked like a meeting hall, and James knew his life was about to change forever. He had found something extraordinary, and he would not let these people be victims again. The meeting hall was a marvel of natural engineering. Woven vines and treated wood created a spacious chamber that stayed cool despite the jungle heat. James sat cross-legged on a cushion made from local fibers, facing the leader of the colony. "I am Anna," the leader said, her silver eyes fixed on him. She was older than the one who had caught him, with pale marks on her skin that showed her age. "You understand what you have found." "A survival colony," James replied carefully. "Women who were meant to die, but chose to live instead." Anna nodded, a small gesture of approval at his understanding. "Our great-grandmothers were the first. They were brought here on a disposal ship, meant to be left in the jungle to die. But they refused." She touched a device on the table between them, a crude but working computer built from salvaged parts. "We kept our knowledge." Each generation taught the next everything they knew about science, about technology. "But we lack resources." James leaned forward, fascinated. "You've done amazing things with what you have. These buildings, your tools, they're incredible." "We survive," Anna said simply. "But we could do more. Our children deserve more than just survival." A younger female brought them drinks in cups made from shaked wood. James noticed her hands. They showed signs of chemical burns. They were trying to recreate their species' advanced biochemistry with primitive tools. "How many of you are there?" he asked. 327, Anna replied. "We lose some to the jungle's dangers, to accidents. Without proper medical equipment, even simple injuries can be fatal." James thought about the medical kit in his pack. It was basic, but it would be like magic compared to what they had. "I want to help," he said. Anna's expression didn't change, but her posture shifted slightly. "Help has a price. Why should we trust you?" "Because what was done to you is wrong," James said firmly. "And because I've seen what you've built here, you deserve a chance to do more than just survive." She studied him for a long moment. Then she stood and walked to a shelf carved into the wall. She returned with something that made James's breath catch, a working data pad, held together with makeshift repairs. "Our mothers left us their knowledge," Anna said, activating the device. "We know how to make medicines that could save millions, treatments for diseases that plague many species, but we lack the tools, the materials." James looked at the formulas scrolling across the screen. Even with his limited scientific knowledge, he could see their potential. These women weren't just survivors. They were brilliant scientists working with sticks and stones. "I can't promise anything big," he said honestly. "If I report this officially, your original society will find you. But I have friends, people I trust. We can start small medical supplies, basic tools." "And what do you want in return?" Anna's question was direct. "Nothing," James replied. "Except maybe the chance to learn from you. You've done something incredible here." Anna was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the sounds of the colony filtered through the walls. Children laughing, women working, life continuing. Finally, she spoke. "If you betray us, you will not leave this jungle alive," she said calmly. "But if you are honest—" She paused, and for the first time, he saw a smile. "Then perhaps we can help each other." James nodded, understanding both the threat and the offer. "I'll need to maintain my regular patrol schedule to avoid suspicion, but I'll return in 7 days with what I can gather." As he left the colony that day, his mind was already working on plans. He'd need to be careful, work slowly. But watching a young girl tend to a makeshift laboratory with determined focus, he knew it would be worth the risk. These women weren't just surviving anymore. They were on the verge of thriving. And with a little help, they could change everything. "You've lost your mind," Mary said, staring at the collection of supplies James had gathered in his apartment. The engineer ran her hand through her graying hair, looking at the medical equipment and portable power cells spread across the floor. "Maybe," James admitted. "But you need to see them, Mary. What they've accomplished with almost nothing. It's incredible." Mary picked up one of the portable molecular analyzers she'd helped him acquire. "Do you know how many regulations we're breaking?" If anyone finds out, they'll die if no one helps them. James cut in. They're making medicines in carved wooden bowls, doing genetic research with equipment they built from scraps. The past month had been a careful dance of gathering supplies without raising suspicion. James had used every favor he'd earned in 15 years of scouting. Mary had been his last hope. She had access to better equipment through her engineering contacts. "Show me," she said finally. "Before I risk my career, I need to see what you're talking about." 2 days later, they landed James's scout ship in a hidden clearing near the colony. The jungle heat hit them as soon as they stepped out. Mary's eyes widened as she saw the camouflaged structures built into the trees. Anna met them at the edge of the settlement. She'd been cautious about allowing another human in, but James had convinced her of Mary's value. The engineer stopped short when she saw the Laxari leader. "Impossible," Mary whispered. "The genetic markers on your skin. You've been modifying your own DNA." Anna's silver eyes narrowed. "You understand our work. I specialized in Laxari biotechnology before they closed their research to humans," Mary replied. "What you're doing, it shouldn't be possible with basic equipment." "Come," Anna said, leading them to what the colony called their science center. Inside, women worked at stations made from salvaged materials and local resources. One was cultivating bacteria in sealed containers made from treated wood and plant resins. Mary moved from station to station, her professional skepticism melting into amazement. "This is genius," she said, examining a makeshift gene sequencer. "You've recreated complex equipment using organic materials. Some of these solutions, we never even thought to try them." A young Laxari brought them their research records. Mary spent hours going through them, occasionally muttering to herself. James watched her expression change from doubt to determination. "We need to get them proper equipment," she said finally. "Not just basic supplies. They're on the verge of breakthroughs that could revolutionize medicine." "It's risky," James warned. "The more we bring in, the more likely we are to be discovered." "Look at this," Mary pointed to a formula on their makeshift screen. "They've developed a way to regrow neural tissue using compounds found in local plants. With proper equipment, this could cure paralysis in a dozen species." Anna watched their discussion with careful hope. "We have many such discoveries, but without tools." "I have contacts in the medical research field," Mary said. "People who don't ask too many questions. We can start setting up a proper lab, piece by piece." James saw the worry in Anna's eyes. "We'll be careful," he assured her. "Small shipments, nothing traceable." "If we're discovered," Anna began. "We won't be," Mary interrupted, "because we're not just smuggling in equipment anymore. I'm staying to help." Everyone stared at her. "What?" James asked. "They need someone who knows how to use the advanced equipment. Someone to help bridge the gap between their innovations and modern technology." Mary's voice was firm. "I'm due for retirement anyway. Might as well do something worthwhile." Anna studied the human woman for a long moment. Then she did something James had never seen before. She gave the traditional Laxari gesture of respect, touching her forehead with both hands. "Welcome to our home," Anna said. As James watched Mary immediately dive into discussing improvements to their lab equipment with the colony scientists, he realized their small mission of mercy had just grown into something much bigger. They weren't just helping the colony survive anymore. They were about to help them change the world. The warning came at dawn. One of the colony's lookouts spotted the Laxari ship breaking through the atmosphere. After 6 months of careful progress, their secret was out. 3 shuttles, Anna reported in the emergency meeting. Military grade. They're landing 10 kilometers from our position. Mary looked up from her workstation, where she'd been helping perfect their latest medical breakthrough. "How did they find us?" "Our power signature," James said grimly. "The new equipment draws more energy than their old tools. Someone must have detected it during a routine scan." The colony's main hall was packed. 300 women who had built a life in this jungle weren't about to give it up without a fight. Young ones clutched primitive weapons while the older scientists gathered their research data. "We have one advantage," Anna said, her voice steady despite the crisis. "They don't know about our human allies. They expect to find weak, primitive outcasts." Mary pulled up the colony's defense plans on their new computer system. "The outer perimeter traps are set. We've got those experimental shield generators in place around the critical facilities." James checked his communicator. "I've got my ship standing by. If things go bad, we can evacuate the children and essential research." A young Laxari named Rin stepped forward. She was one of their best fighters, trained in the colony's unique combat style that blended their species' natural abilities with jungle survival skills. "The jungle is our home," she said firmly. "We know every tree, every path. They'll be fighting blind." Anna nodded. "Divide into defense groups. Scientists, secure the research. Combat teams, take your positions. They'll expect us to be hiding in caves, not defending a sophisticated settlement." The evacuation teams moved the children to the secure bunkers they'd built into the massive tree roots. Years of paranoia had led them to prepare for this day, and now those preparations would be tested. "Incoming transmission," called one of the communications operators. "They're demanding our surrender." "Put it through," Anna ordered. The harsh voice of a male Laxari commander filled the hall. "Aberrant females, your existence is an offense against natural order. Surrender for proper disposal, and your deaths will be quick." Anna's reply was calm but fierce. "We are not aberrant. We are the future. Come and see what your disposable females have become." The commander's response was cut off as Anna terminated the transmission. She turned to her people, silver eyes blazing with determination. "For generations, they told us we were worthless. They left our mothers here to die. Instead, we built something new, something better." Her voice carried to every corner of the hall. "Today, we show them how wrong they were." Mary activated the shield generators, their hum filling the air. "The lab is secure. All our research is backed up and ready for emergency transfer." "First wave incoming," reported a lookout. 3 squads, heavy weapons. James checked his stunner. Against his better judgment, he'd brought more serious weapons over the past months, teaching the colony how to use them. "Remember the plan. Let them get tangled in the outer defenses first." The women moved to their positions with practiced efficiency. Some carried traditional weapons, others held modified tools that could become deadly in the right hands. All of them wore the same expression of fierce determination. "They call us aberrant," Anna said quietly to James and Mary as they watched the enemy approach through their sensors. "But we have done what they never could. We built a society without their hatred, their rigid rules. We made something beautiful. And we'll help you protect it," Mary promised, activating the last of their defensive systems. The first explosion marked the invaders hitting their outer traps. The jungle itself seemed to come alive with defensive measures, years of planning unleashing chaos on the attackers. "All units ready," Rin reported. "We are ready to protect our home." As the battle began, James watched these remarkable women move into action. They weren't fighting just for survival anymore. They were fighting for their right to exist, to thrive, to change the very society that had tried to destroy them. The storm had broken, but they were ready for it. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension. Representatives from 50 species watched as footage from the jungle battle played on the main screen. It showed Laxari females using advanced tactics and technology to repel their attackers, ending with the invading forces' humiliating retreat. "This is an internal cultural matter," the male Laxari representative thundered from his podium. "These females were legally disposed of according to our traditions. Their continued existence is an offense." The human ambassador, Tom, stood calmly at his own station. "When does cultural tradition become attempted genocide? These women have built a thriving society. They've made medical breakthroughs that could benefit everyone in this chamber." Screens around the room displayed the colony's research data. Mary had helped them document everything. New medicines, innovative biotechnology, and genetic improvements that could help multiple species. They were meant to die, the Laxari representative insisted. Instead, they've corrupted human outsiders and stolen technology. Anna stood in the witness area, her head high. Unlike the elaborate robes of the male Laxari, she wore the practical clothing of her colony. We built our own technology. Everything we have, we earned through generations of work. The council leader, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical shell, moved forward. The evidence suggests more than simple survival. These females have advanced their species' science in new directions. Precisely why they are dangerous, the male Laxari said. They twist our pure science with primitive methods. They must be eliminated. Tom played his final card. We have proof that similar disposal colonies exist on 12 other worlds. This isn't culture, it's systematic elimination of half a species. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Even species that had known of the Laxari's practices hadn't realized their scale. The human speaks truth, a new voice said. An elderly male Laxari stepped forward from the audience. I was a disposal ship captain. I left hundreds to die, believing our laws were just. I was wrong. Anna recognized him with a start. You left my grandmother's group on our world. You gave them tools against orders. The old captain nodded. I saw their dignity, their strength. It began my doubt. The council leader's mechanical shell hummed as it processed the information. This body must consider the implications. A species' right to cultural autonomy must be balanced against universal rights of sentient beings. We don't seek to destroy our original society, Anna said clearly. We want recognition, the right to exist, to continue our work, to help others who were abandoned as we were. The evidence was overwhelming. The colony's medical breakthroughs alone had swayed many representatives. Their methods of combining natural materials with advanced science offered new paths for research. The council will vote, the leader announced. The chamber grew silent as representatives cast their decisions. The results appeared on the main screen. Overwhelming support for the colony's independence. The council recognizes the sovereign right of the female Laxari colony to exist, the leader declared. Further attempts to eliminate them will be considered acts of war. The male Laxari representative sputtered in rage, but the decision was made. Guards would be posted to protect the colony. Their research would be officially recognized and funded. Additionally, the leader continued, the council will investigate other disposal sites. Any survivors will be offered the same protection. Anna stood straighter, silver eyes bright with unshed tears. Generations of women had lived and died in their jungle home. Dreaming of this moment, they were finally free. This is not the end, the male representative threatened as he stormed out. No, Anna agreed quietly. It's a beginning. For all of us. As the chamber cleared, Tom approached Anna with a smile. Congratulations, your colony is now officially recognized as an independent state. Thank you, she said. But our work isn't finished. There are others out there, hoping to survive like we did. They need to know they're not alone. Looking at her determination, Tom knew this was just the start. The colony wouldn't just survive now. They would thrive, grow, and change their society from the outside in. The storm hadn't passed, but at least now they could face it in the open, with the law on their side. The jungle hummed with the sound of construction drones as new buildings rose among the trees. 1 year after the council's decision, the colony was transforming. But unlike typical development, these structures worked with the forest, becoming part of it rather than replacing it. The living quarters are complete, Mary announced, reviewing the blueprints with Anna. And the new medical research facility will be ready next week. The colony had grown. Nearly 1,000 residents now called it home, including refugees from other disposal sites and even some male Laxari who had rejected their society's cruel traditions. Look at this, Anna said, leading Mary to their newest achievement. A massive greenhouse stretched between the trees, filled with carefully tended plants. We've successfully merged our traditional medicines with modern growing techniques. Inside, scientists worked at state-of-the-art stations, analyzing the plants that had helped them survive for generations. What had once been desperate survival medicine was becoming groundbreaking biotechnology. The first shipment of mineral regeneration treatment goes out tomorrow, one of the younger scientists reported. Hospitals across 3 sectors are waiting for it. They had named the colony New Dawn, and it was living up to its name. The same jungle that had been meant to kill them now provided the raw materials for their innovations. Their unique approach to science, born from necessity, was revolutionizing multiple fields. James, now serving as their official human liaison, entered the greenhouse with exciting news. The education center is ready. We've got students coming from 12 different species who want to learn your methods. The education center was Anna's pride and joy. Built into the canopy of the largest trees, it would teach their hard-won knowledge to others. Survival skills merged with advanced science, creating something entirely new. The first class includes 3 male Laxari students, he added with a smile. Young ones who want to learn a different way. Anna nodded, pleased but cautious. Change comes slowly to our people, but it comes. They walked through the colony, now a striking blend of natural architecture and modern technology. The original tree homes remained, now enhanced with modern comforts but still maintaining their harmony with the jungle. We're getting more requests for sanctuary, Mary reported, checking her datapad. Mostly females from rigid societies, but also scientists interested in our methods. Accept them, Anna said firmly. We know what it means to need a fresh start. The colony's success had sent ripples through Laxari society. While the old guard still resisted, younger generations were asking questions. Why waste half their population's potential? Why reject new ideas just because they came from females? In the community dining hall, residents gathered for the evening meal. The sight still moved Anna to tears sometimes. Males and females eating together, children playing without fear, scientists of all species sharing ideas freely. The council wants to send another observer, James mentioned as they ate. Your success is making waves. Let them come, Anna replied. Let them see what freedom creates. Later that evening, Anna stood on a viewing platform high in the canopy. Below her, the colony's lights twinkled through the leaves like stars. Modern buildings rose seamlessly from the jungle floor, while research centers and living quarters spread through the middle canopy. Mary joined her, watching the sunset. Hard to believe this all started with women left to die in the jungle. We survived because we worked together, Anna said. We thrived because we dared to think differently. New residents were arriving daily. Each brought their own skills, their own stories of escape or seeking knowledge. The colony absorbed them all, growing stronger with each addition. The next generation will never know disposal sites, Anna said softly. They'll grow up knowing they have value, that their minds matter. Below them, students gathered for evening classes, their voices carrying up through the trees. They were learning the colony's unique blend of traditional wisdom and modern science, preparing to spread these lessons across the galaxy. We didn't just survive, Anna said, watching her people's dreams take shape. We created something new, something better. The jungle night fell around them, but New Dawn glowed with life and purpose. They had risen from the ashes of abandonment to build not just a refuge, but a beacon of hope for others. And this was just the beginning. 5 years after the Council's decision, New Dawn had become a symbol across the galaxy. The colony's unique blend of natural wisdom and advanced science had created a revolution in multiple fields. The latest medical report is in, Mary announced during the colony's leadership meeting. She was older now, her hair completely white, but her eyes sparkled with the same enthusiasm. Our treatments have saved over 1 million lives across 17 species. The meeting hall, now a beautiful mix of living trees and advanced technology, held representatives from every part of the colony. Among them sat the first generation of children born free, young Laxari who had never known the fear of disposal. The education program has graduated its 1,000th student, James added. He had stayed on as their ambassador, watching the colony grow beyond his wildest dreams. They're spreading our methods across the galaxy. Anna, still leading but now with wisdom lines marking her face, smiled at the reports. And the other disposal worlds, all found and freed. A young male Laxari named Ren reported. He had been among the first males to join their colony. The last rescue mission returned yesterday. No more lost sisters. The changes hadn't come easily. The traditional Laxari society had fought them at every step. But it's hard to argue with success. When their medical breakthroughs started saving lives, when their environmental technology proved superior, even the strongest opponents began to waver. The most interesting development, Mary said, pulling up new data, is how other species are adapting our methods. The blend of natural and advanced technology is creating whole new fields of science. Their biggest impact hadn't been in technology or medicine, but in showing a different way to live. The colony had proved that progress didn't have to mean destroying nature, that tradition and innovation could work together. We're receiving another delegation from the Laxari central government tomorrow, James mentioned. They want to discuss wider cooperation. Anna nodded, remembering how far they'd come. They finally accepted that we're not going away. That we're not a threat to their culture, but an evolution of it. The meeting moved to the observation deck, where they could see the colony spread out below them. The jungle still thrived, but now it was filled with purpose-built structures that worked with nature instead of against it. In one clearing, a group of children, both male and female, practiced the colony's unique fighting arts under Rin's guidance. She had become their chief of security and defense instructor, teaching others to protect themselves while respecting life. Look there, Mary pointed to a new building taking shape. The first combined hospital and research center. Traditional healing and modern medicine working together. The colony had grown beyond mere survival or even success. It had become a blueprint for a better way of life. Species that had never questioned their rigid traditions began to see other possibilities. The first generation is coming of age, Anna said softly, watching the young ones below. Born free, raised with both knowledge and compassion. They'll change everything. These children had grown up seeing males and females working together as equals. They understood both the advanced sciences and the wisdom of living in harmony with their environment. They were something new in the galaxy. We've had requests from 12 other species to build similar colonies, James reported. Not for refugees this time. They want to learn our methods, our way of life. Anna looked at her people, not just Laxari now, but a mix of species and cultures, all working together. The jungle that was meant to be their grave had become the birthplace of a revolution. This was always about more than survival, she said. It was about proving there's a better way. That strength doesn't come from domination, but from cooperation. As the sun set over New Dawn, its lights began to twinkle through the canopy. In laboratories and classrooms, in healing centers and living quarters, people of all species worked together. The abandoned had become leaders, the condemned had become teachers. And somewhere in the galaxy, others who felt lost or rejected would look to New Dawn and know there was always another way, always hope for a better tomorrow. The jungle world that was meant to be a grave had become a cradle for a new future. And that future was just beginning.